Become a patron at www.patreon.com/Golden Era Bookworm for hard to find books, scans of rare photos, and articles on the golden era of bodybuilding. Hi everybody, Golden Era Bookworm here, and today I'm really pleased to showcase Robert Baraban's new Chest Krusher. I mean, this thing is an absolute monster. It is here shown in comparison with the original York Barbell Chest Krusher. And I'm going to tell you a few things about the York Chest Krusher and compare it today to Robert Baraban's new Chest Krusher. What I love about Robert Baraban, and I have talked about him before in a previous video, and that was titled The World's Greatest Iron Horseshoe, because I truly believe that the equipment and the strongman apparatus that he continues to build not just honors the strongman and bronze era equipment of the past, but he improves on it so much that he basically has created the world's best, and I mean in history, the world's best strongman apparatus in regards to bringing the bronze era equipment back. That's why I'm so passionate about the work that he does. If you check out on the link above, you'll see my previous video on the world's greatest iron horseshoe. The iron horseshoe previously was used especially by strongmen to develop their grip strength, their total upper body strength for tearing things apart, and especially to learn how to bend iron horseshoes for strongman feats. Now Robert Baraban has come out with this homage to the Chest Krusher. Now I'm going to just put myself right next to it so you can see the size of the damn thing. Okay, this is my hand, right? And I'm grabbing the original York barbell. You can see that the original York barbell is bigger than the average arm, right? Now this thing is an absolute monster. I mean, it weighs probably twice as much, right? And I'm going to tell you why. I mean, the original York barbell was made out of aluminium, right? But, you know, Robert, he always takes things to another level, right? He's developed one out of solid steel, for God's sake. I mean, damn, this thing is a monster. It is an absolute animal, right? Now, let me just tell you where you can actually purchase it. You can actually purchase it on shop.handgripper.net. Now, this thing must weigh, I would say, I don't know, at least 5 kilos. Let's have a feel. Okay, that's just a couple of kilos for sure. But this beast, oh my goodness, yeah, it's a beast. It's a beast, right? And it's going to develop your upper body strength, right? The length. Now, I want to just compare it as look, I've actually got a Wader super strength builder. You know, to be honest, the thing's just, I haven't even got it out. Firstly, it's not going to fit in the screen. But two, once again, I hate to say it, but Joe Wader came out with very inferior equipment when compared to York barbell at the time. This original Chest Krusher was out, I believe, in the 50s or the 60s. And it was used by, of course, by strongmen, but also by bodybuilders, right? And I'm going to get to this story later. The idea of the Chest Krusher, before I go on to the length and everything, was that it was supposed to be, you know, used like such. I hope you can see what I'm about to do. Okay, I've got it here, and you crush inwards. So you do use a lot of crushing power from your chest, from your arms. So it's this adducting force, lats and chest are doing the work, right? You crush inwards, develops your forearms, your arm strength, your chest strength, total body strength, right? And the idea is that when you increase the springs, it allows you to develop this crushing power to bend iron bars, right? Because you've got to remember the strongmen of the past. I already mentioned that Robert is bringing back Bronze Era equipment from the past, and he's not just bringing it back, he's improving on it, and that's even an that's an understatement. He is not just improving it, he's destroying the previous versions. I mean, Wader's was hollow and an absolute piece of junk. The York barbell was pretty good, And this is just another level. It's just incredible, right? Now, as I said, I was going to show you the length of it. This part is about 50 centimeters long in the original York barbell, and about 20 centimeters long for the short part of the arm. So you've got the long part of the arm and the short part. But so that's 50 centimeters and 20 centimeters on the original aluminium York barbell. But Robert Baraban's, well, being Robert Baraban's, it's also actually 50 centimeters in length here, and actually it's quite similar, and about 23 to 24. It's slightly bigger, as you can see, just slightly bigger by a few centimeters, right? So it's about 23 centimeters, but if you take the whole length like I did here, so if I actually go all the way, okay, so it's about 60 centimeters with an added 20. So it is a little bit bigger than the original York barbell. It weighs quite a lot more, but it's just the quality. The quality being steel, solid steel, it's going to be weighing a lot more. Not just that. Let's have a look at the amount of springs that the original York barbell could allow. Originally, you could put up to 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in all the slots, right? And I mean, you could try and put more, but you're really going to cramp it up, right? So it's originally made for 5 springs only. Whereas Robert Baraban's actually holds 7 springs, right? I hope you can see it here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, with these bolts holding them on each side, right? So it's already an improvement in design that it holds 7 springs, but it's also on the quality of the material that has gone into this fantastic chest crusher. As I told you, you can see that the difference. The difference is the quality. This thing is going to last you a lifetime. Okay guys, I just wanted to show you a little bit of the differences between Robert's design and the original chest crusher. And you clearly see that these two nut and bolts on Robert's crusher, I've already talked about the length. Robert's being slightly longer, the arms being slightly longer, and the quality being solid steel, and this being just aluminium. I think that the construction and the design of Robert's chest crusher is way more robust and solid than the original chest crusher, because having just one bolt here makes this kind of, yeah, just a little bit loose and floppy. It's just the way I feel it. You can only feel that when you're trying it yourself. But this is just so much more robust. Like if I grab this, you can see, I mean, of course I can tighten the bolts more, but there's an actual gap here in between the two arms. So it doesn't matter how much I tighten this, I will start bending the aluminium, and that's not necessarily that good. And it just goes to show that it wasn't as great. I mean, it's not bad. A lot of bodybuilders used it, including John Grimek. But you're going to get none of that effect with Robert, right? Because he's got everything lined up so beautifully. There's no gap, and that's really important when you're going to be doing 4, 5, 6, 7 springs like some people are able to do, which I'll show in another video. You don't want any wobble, because that's going to really affect your performance. And it's like having a shitty machine at home, like a wobbly machine, or in your gym, right? You're going to complain to the instructor, this is no good, right? So the design, the structure, the construction of this apparatus is way superior to the original. Another thing is, I want to show you the ease of replacing the springs onto this machine. So, you know, it's a very simple concept of just unscrewing the springs on and off the frame here, which I have to say, the frame is fantastic as well. I didn't say that. It's thicker. It's way thicker here on this plane, on this horizontal plane, and here the vertical plane. I mean, look at the thickness as well when you compare it to the thickness of the original York, right? On both, I mean, here it's almost comparable on the horizontal planes, but the vertical plane, especially the short head, is way thicker on Robert's. But back to removing the springs, you can clearly see how easy it is to put a spring on and to put a spring off. You know, it's super easy. And if you want to, not that I think it's necessary because now I've used this a few times, but if you want to, you can also use the hex key that comes with it. And as I said, that's just to tighten the springs in. You don't really need to be honest. I mean, they go really well deep in, but if you want, you know, Robert supplies a nice hex key and you can just lock them in place. You can see how easy that was. That took just 30 seconds to put a spring on. But now, when we compare it to the York Chest Krusher, things become a little bit more complicated, right? You can see that it's based on a long screw with a bolt at the end. And the issue is keeping all the springs in place, right? I'm going to try and do it like this, you can see. I mean, that comes readily easily off, but let's say I want to put a spring here or here, you know, you have to take the screw out, and that's what happens, right? And then the whole thing becomes even more wobbly. And then you've got to try and carefully do the same thing on the other side. And you can already tell this is taking me a little bit longer. Of course I'm explaining, but I think you're getting my point. Because it relies on two pieces of equipment to place the spring in as opposed to a simple a screw going in, the springs start coming off. And this is an issue. Of course I could have kept one of these screws on one side, but you know what? I think I'm just trying to demonstrate a point here. So I will put that third spring in that I wanted to. But now I have to carefully place the other one in. Also, the fact that you've got to thread this screw in means that you've got to kind of jiggle and juggle it in, right? And this is what starts happening. Everything starts falling apart. So again, you know, God bless York for coming out with this initial apparatus, because otherwise men like Robert Baraban wouldn't have the idea to improve on the design, which he definitely has, right? So hats off to you, Robert, for not just honoring the original York Chest Krusher, but for improving on the design in all aspects, on the quality of the material, on the thought and design of the structure, and on the assembly of the springs, because you've done a way better job. And you can see how long that took me, you know, just to put a third spring onto the York Krusher. So there's my comparison on how to assemble the apparatus. It's fantastic. Now on to the next topic. Now I just want to talk about the reasons why you would want a chest crusher at home. Right? Now, the original York Chest Krusher, the whole idea of it was to train for you to imagine you have an iron bar and you wish to bend it, right? For a strongman, that's the whole point of this. So you practice as if you were grabbing the iron bar and creating this crushing power, right? Where you bring your arms, you basically adduct your elbow and shoulder and arm towards the center of your body. And that's what this teaches you to do, especially at that sticking point where your elbows are out, right? And you can train this at all levels. So you can train it down here as well, or up here. You can even flip it, right? In all different ways to train your upper body structure. The other, of course, advantage of such an apparatus is that it simulates a pec deck action, a fly action, like as if you would have a machine in your own gym, in your own home gym. Instead of having an enormous contraption like a pec deck where you've got to sit in it and perform this motion, which is not necessarily a very natural motion. I find this way more of a natural motion, and you can still vary the height, which allows you to target your upper pecs, your middle pecs, your lower pecs, etc. It's also going to target the outside of your pecs as well, and your frontal deltoids. Right? So you've got the advantage of that. So you've got a strongman application, you've got a bodybuilding application, which is why, again, men like John Grimek and others use this machine. There was no pec deck back then. You could have grabbed some dumbbells and done some dumbbell flies, but changing the position changes the effect of the exercise. Instead of lying down, now you can do the exercise standing up. It's a brilliant concept of why, again, I love having the Chest Krusher at home. It's fantastic. And of course, Robert, with the 3 springs at least, for me is really hard, really simulates, again, that crushing action, that strongman application of learning to crush things, right? So, yeah, it's fantastic to develop that crushing power. You can do singles, as I just did, or you can do, you know, drop the springs. I'll just use the yaw crusher for now because it's way lighter. It's not as hard. Or you can do reps or sets. There's 8 reps, for example, 8 to 12 reps for sets, right? You can do that with Robert's apparatus too, of course, but maybe with 1 or 2 springs or whatever your strength level is, right? So you can practice just like you would in the gym. You can do that at home, right? And develop your pectoral mass and your strength. By doing singles, you're going to develop structural strength, ligament, tendon strength, right? And the power or I should say the strength. It's not really power. Power is if you time. I mean, you can also do it versus time. How fast can I close it? You can also train negatives, I guess. The concentric, the eccentric. You can do all sorts of things. Basically, anything that you can do with a dumbbell, barbell, or machine, you can do with this in regards to that crushing power, that pec fly movement. So yeah, that's what I kind of wanted to say about this, and what my thoughts on its application. You can develop, so of course you can also develop single pressing power, single arm pressing power, like so, and swap. I'm using the York crusher for demonstration. Right, so that's that kind of motion. You can develop pressing power off your chest using that motion. Yeah, I mean, if you can just start thinking of all the different things you can do with this apparatus, you'll be surprised as to how much work you can actually do. So I do hope you have enjoyed this video on Robert Baraban's new Chest Krusher, available at shop.handgripper.net, along with a whole new range of strongman and powerlifting equipment, especially that work on your grip and hand strength, such as hand grippers, pinch gripping apparatuses, and grip machines. For any questions, please email Robert at info@handgripper.net. If you have enjoyed the video, please like, share, and subscribe. And to support my research, please donate via PayPal, become a patron, or visit my website, www.goldenerabookworm.com, for out-of-print books and courses on old school bodybuilding and lifting. Also, please email if you wish to collaborate or pass on your bodybuilding relics. That's it from me. Hope you enjoyed this video. This is the Golden Era Bookworm saying bye for now. Now, if you're interested in learning Sandow's different bodybuilding systems, please visit my website where you will find the most comprehensive collection of ebooks on the subject. Everything from Sandow's chest expander system, which involved pulling and extension movements, to the light dumbbell system, which involved pressing, curling, and flexing movements, as well as the Sandow Developer, which essentially was one of the first cable stations available for the home gym. All the relevant ebooks to all these courses are available on my website, www.goldenerabookworm.com. To take full advantage of my collaboration with Old School Labs, please visit their website and choose from their marvelous range of supplements using my code BOOKWORM12. And for an entertaining look at the history of bodybuilding's supplement industry, I would highly recommend watching Subs the Movie, which I have collaborated in, available at Amazon Prime and Vimeo.